I will mute myself and April will kick it.
Got it. Okay. You ready, Nikki? Three.
I'm ready. Let's do it.
Let's do it. Three, two, one. Hi, everyone. I'm Representative April Berg, and I'm coming to you today with Nikki Myers. And I just quickly want to introduce myself, let you know a little bit about who I am and what I do. I'm the state representative for the 44th Legislative District here in Washington State. I'm proud to be representing this district. I was the first African-American woman elected to this position, and I'm coming to you as your vice chair of House Finance. I'm also on your local government committee as well as education. I have a passion around healing and learning and making communities whole, and that's why I'm in this work. I also have a background with yoga behind bars, having taken their teacher training right before COVID hit. With that, I'm going to throw it right over to Nikki and let her introduce herself.
First of all, I'm so grateful to meet you, Representative Berg, and so grateful for the work you do. So thank you, and I really appreciate this invitation to be here. So I usually introduce myself in a really specific way, and simply because it gives a lens, a view into the work and how I got into it. So wherever I am, and last week I happened to speak at the Clinton Global Initiative, and I've done work at Harvard Medical School, and wherever I am, right, I do it the same way. And I'm Nikki, and my pronouns are she, her, and we. And part of this introduction gives some insight into that we, right? And the we for me is, I always say I am a yoga therapist. I'm a somatic experiencing practitioner. And somatic experiencing is this trauma healing methodology that was developed by Dr. Peter Levine. I am an MBA. I am just so many things in that realm. And the big thing with that is the and, right? And I'm an addict, I'm an alcoholic, I'm a codependent, I'm the survivor of both childhood and adult sexual trauma. I'm a love addict, I'm a former commercial sex worker, and I'm the mother of 2 living and 1 deceased child. I'm the grandmother of 5. I'm actually the great grandmother of 6 3/4. There's 1 on the way, right? And I'm a lover of all things dogs. I'm a lover of life. I'm a spiritual seeker. And the point of this thing is all of those are a part of who I am. All of those are a part of my experience in this plane of existence. And what I've discovered is when I make one part of myself bad, awful, and wrong, and another part of myself right and wonderful and praiseworthy, that what happens is there's actually a fissure in my being. There's this split. Number one, the yoga, it means union, it means balance, it means integration, which is the antithesis of this split. And when that split is present, there's this internal war that goes on inside of me. There's this fight. So part of the healing journey has been in integrating all those parts, bringing all those parts back in, right? In this inclusive being and experience of who I am. And once everything's included, I get to recognize that truth is none of those things define me. I'm much more than any of that. But it's only after accepting and including it all do I get this opportunity to recognize that I'm far beyond any of that. And this is where my work came from. It's been started with my own lived experience and healing in this lived experience, and then recognizing that there were a whole lot of other people just like me, right? Who this kind of integration can support them in transforming and transforming and resilience for whatever it is we might have experienced in this plane.
Wow, thank you for that. That was so powerful. And it reminded myself, my pronouns are she, her, But Nikki, listening to your introduction, what I really hung my hat on was and the power of and in your statement. And that is so powerful. And I think for me, I'm gonna practice the power of and incorporating that, because I think as women, as yoga practitioners, as folks who want to heal folks and make communities whole, the power of and connects us more to community. And you've really illustrated
Exactly.
it. It is huge. One of
That,
the things, it's that little, yeah, it's that little, and it's so small, but it's
that
so
little
huge.
bitty word, right?
Yes,
Right.
yes, no, and it's huge because it makes you everything, and it makes everything you are okay. You know, it's
Yes.
all a part of you. You haven't taken those pieces out of you. Those aren't buts, but and so it's an and one of the things when I was reading over, I was kind of fangirling you when I was preparing for this, and I was reading over some of the work that you've done and reading about the yoga and 12-step recovery. And I just want to ask you, we're all coming to this work, to this journey from different places. And for me, it's seeing folks incarcerated and wanting them made whole, and wanting to give them tools to make themselves whole, and wanting to be a part of that community practice. What brought you to your journey? How did you come upon founding and directing such a powerful movement, really?
Yeah, it really is that lived experience. There were parts, like folks who are incarcerated,
Mm,
we're a culture that, thinks for some reason there's still this idea that they're throwaway people, right? That people can be thrown away, right? And I experienced that
mm,
in the whole in part of my history,
mm,
right? People ready to give up and throw away. And so, like I said before, out of my own lived experience,
mm,
and my experience includes relapse. I was clean for 8 years, then I relapsed, and I was clean for another 4 years, and then I relapsed again. I'm grateful to say right now, it's been 22 years
mm.
since that last relapse. And
Congratulations.
what I found for me is it's been this deep integration of not just the cognitive work that
Mm,
is like done in 12-step programs and other addiction treatment and healing methodologies. Some of it strictly really looks more toward the cognitive,
mm,
more toward that work. And for me, it was this integration of the cognitive and the somatic that
yeah.
made the big difference, and was a true tide turner on
Mm,
this healing journey that I'm still a part of, one day at a time right now, right?
mhm,
And so it was that recognition that these two things needed to be deeply coupled, that there needed to be this coupleship. We live in a world and a culture that so bows down to just mind and intellect, that we forget that really it's all one thing, and that
mhm.
there needs to be this deep integration otherwise. And so it was that work that was a big, big shift
Yeah.
in.
Well, and part of when I was looking over just some of your, I almost want to say mantras, right? The things that you really hang your hat on. And one of the things that you say is that the issues are in the tissues.
Yep.
And that, I mean, walk me through that, because there's power in just that statement. And
Yeah.
listening to the work you do, you put that power into practice.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you for asking that, right? It's a big thing on many levels, on many, many levels. But on a real, I think, easy level to really comprehend,
Mhm,
really, it really is all the same thing. The body, the mind, the
mhm,
spirit are really all the same thing. And what you do to one really affects all the others. What
yeah.
happens to one affects all of the others. So, many things get stuck actually in our very bodies, that are sometimes clogged and unable to move. There's
Mhm,
no space,
mhm,
and things get stuck there. So, a many trauma lives in our bodies,
yeah.
right? It's more than the event, it's what gets stuck that can't move. And that can happen in a multitude of places within the being. So just recognizing that the issues really live in our tissues, and doing this work in order to trauma something that's stuck,
Yeah.
right? It can't move, something that's stuck. And so creating pathways of freedom in areas that we're stuck can help us to begin to release whatever's held.
Yeah, and that's the power in that, because as you talked about your own relapse, and as we, when we work with folks who are incarcerated, and there's that feeling of, I hate to even use the word, but there's that feeling of failure, like why am I back? Why am I going down this path again? Why is this journey taking me here? And so it sounds like what you're talking about, those paths to freedom, and incorporating even back to the and statement. And so just talk to me a little bit about how that feels, that feeling of being unstuck, and the power that's in that, so that you can push past any relapses or any potential what seems like a setback.
I love that question. And in some ways there's more of a lightness, I want to say, to being. It's not like, I hope they don't mind, you don't mind too much if I use a French,
Go for it.
one of those words, right? It's not that shit's not gonna happen, right? We're in this plane of existence and shit is going to happen.
After 2 years of COVID, we know that. Yes, it is.
We know that, right? We know that. And there's that and again, what I can do is build capacity and build resilience such that when things happen, which it will, resilience is more than, sometimes we have that framed as bouncing back, right? And I love the definition of resilience. It says resilience is the ability to it's more than bouncing back. It's the ability to transform the experience. And in order to do that, you have to have space. You have to build the capacity for that, right? So things don't continue to get stuck. And some of, for example, the practices from yoga, some of the things, exactly. It teaches us some skill building capacities, not only to deal with whatever it is that comes up, but it helps us to prevent that stuckness and prevent those things for whatever occurs in the moment.
Yeah, and just that breath work. As you were speaking, I was thinking about that breath work. And when you're trying to make space, let's say for a posture, and when you're talking with your practitioner, and they're asking you to just take that deeper breath to make that space, and you've taken that space, that breath work, into really a movement to help folks where they are to get unstuck. And I wonder, I'm thinking about that as it relates to our incarcerated populations, that a lot of folks listening might be out there teaching and training to teach and working with. And so how does that look when you are working with someone? And so I'm thinking about in practice, and someone who's so stuck and they haven't had the benefit of maybe even a 12-step program, more or less a yoga program, or anything to get them unstuck. What does that first timer look like, that change look like?
I love that. First of all, this whole idea of being with and being in connection and in real relationship with someone else, and recognizing, we say namaste, right? And what one way that I've been taught that really, what it really means is that when I look at you, what I'm looking for and what I see is for the God, the good, the divine sweetness, which is in everyone. We're all whole and complete. We all are. We've just had all this crap dumped on top of our wholeness that we can't find wholeness anymore.
Yeah.
But when I'm in a space with someone and they know that what I'm looking for is that namaste,
Mhm.
right? To see that that's what's it, because I know it's in there,
Because it's in
right?
there. Yeah, you're not
It's
asking them to change. It's in there.
it's in there, right?
Mhm.
And all of our job, that I'm doing the same thing, all of us are doing the same thing, is chipping away
Mhm.
all that is not our wholeness. We've
Yeah.
all had conditioning, we've all had all this stuff dumped on top of our wholeness,
Yeah.
right? But just being in a space with someone else who recognizes and looks at me and
Mhm.
knows that no matter what the presentation is in front of them, that there's wholeness in there, and they're looking for that rather than looking for the fault,
Yep.
rather than looking for the crap on top of the wholeness. I'm looking for
Mhm.
the wholeness inside, and that makes a world of difference. For me, it was a life-changing thing, and
Mhm.
I've seen that in relationship with others, that it's really a life-changing thing.
That's huge. I think even your definition of resilience and it not being that, oh, that, oh, bounce back, buddy. It's no, it's actually, being where you are and finding that path to freedom so that you can be resilient for that next thing. Um, and I think about, I'll tell you, as a policymaker, I wish there was a Nikki in every one of our spaces where trauma is housed. And I say that in a real meaningful way because our prisons, our jails, sometimes frankly, our schools. I mean, it's just, there's so much trauma out there, and so many institutions, frankly, that willingly or unwillingly are participating in that infrastructure of trauma. And so I wish I could have a Nikki everywhere, but I will say that folks are sitting in lots of communities listening to our conversation. What are your thoughts about how they can be that change, that light, put that and in their story to help someone else? What would be your advice?
It for me, it's a compassionate self-inquiry,
Mm,
right? What I discovered is and I see this in many others,
mhm.
finding purpose in the wound that has my own wound, right?
Yeah.
And finding real purpose out of that. That's been the case for me,
Mm,
right? The resilience is finding this purpose in my
mm,
experience so that I can support others through their experience. And you have to really do some capacity building within yourself or within ourselves
mhm,
sometimes in order to face that. And sometimes we need help with that, right? We
mhm,
may need therapists, we may need all those kinds of things to do that deep level of work. And there's a gift in there, right? There's a gift in that wound, whatever it is, that allows us to create a container and hold others as
mhm.
they move through their work within that wound. So, that's not it's not a simple
Yeah,
answer.
no, it's not. It's,
Yeah, in 12
yeah,
step, we say it really is simple, but it's not easy.
it's
That's
not
the
easy. Yeah.
deal, right?
Yeah, well, but that's real talk. I mean, I think that journey of self-awareness and capacity
Yes,
building within ourselves, a lot of times, and this might be a little too real, but a lot of times we come into work trying to help other people because we're trying to get
that's
away from
it.
ourselves.
That's it.
And that's what you're really getting at, is that
That's
we
it.
have to really look inwards. We have to
That's
create that. And I'm going to tell you right now, Nikki, I'm going to write my bio with the ands. I'm going to take
love
that as
that.
an assignment because I think that's going to help me in my work as a policymaker become more self-aware and understand if I'm trying to heal a community, making sure I've done the work myself before I
Yeah.
come into community. And I feel like for folks listening and for me listening to you, that's a powerful takeaway from this moment. And also the power of yoga behind bars, because I know going through that program helped me become more self-aware in the moment and really, really search myself about why I wanted to come into spaces and heal folks in correctional facilities. And so I'm hoping that people also take away your advice.
I
But
love it. I love it.
yeah, well, and I was just gonna say, do you want to end? What do you want to leave folks with? Because I know I want to end this with a big hug, and I know we can't because you're road running today, and so am I. So, but let's end it with folks for folks where
I,
they can really take it away.
I love gratitude, right?
Mhm.
Gratitude is such a powerful force for positive change,
Yes.
right? That for whatever shows up, right? It is such a powerful force for positive change. I've discovered that when I make my gratitude bigger than my fear or my sadness or my
Mhm.
opinion, which can be big, when gratitude's bigger than that, it opens up possibility, right? It opens up a whole new set of possibility. So I just want to end this with a ton of gratitude for this conversation and for meeting you and for Yoga Behind Bars and all the work that organization does. You know, and again, in this recognition, this isn't, like you said, about saving, you
Mhm.
know, going in and playing savior or any of that. It's in the recognition that there are no throwaway people, right?
100%.
You just, there are no throwaway people, that there, you know, that this conditioning in
Mhm.
this world, all of that is what brings all the rest of this stuff on, right? And we're examining our conditioning and strip it away to come back to the wholeness that we really are. So I
Absolutely.
love to leave it with that.
Well, I
Yeah.
will echo your gratitude. It's been a pleasure to meet with you, talk with you. I'm thankful for the work that you're doing in community, and I'm very thankful for Yoga Behind Bars. And Nikki, namaste.
Yeah, I'm so happy to meet you. I can't wait for a day we meet face to face and we can hug.
Absolutely. Have a good one.
Thank you.